Okay, so before the exercise, let's look together the assignment 3 text, which is quite complicated, so let's try to solve all the problems now. So the assignment 3 is the individual assignment, so you must complete it, of course, individually and in presence. So it's due on November 25, so you have 2 weeks, but you must perform it in presence. You can, of course, use the lab for doing that, but you are also free to schedule your meetings with the other groups outside the class hours, but in presence, of course, because you will need to try the real prototype on paper. The goal is to conduct an heuristic evaluation of another prototype, but of course there are constraints both at the individual level but also for your own group, okay? And this is probably the tricky part. So there is a chapter organization that explains this in detail. So as a group, you should receive at least one heuristic evaluation per prototype, okay? Receiving, okay? So you need to give your prototype to an individual from another group and receive an evaluation, one for each prototype, okay? Of course, there are 140 people enrolled in this course. Then there are, I think, 30 groups. This means that as a group, you will probably need to welcome more than 2 students, other colleagues. So you will probably receive more than 2 evaluations, 3 to 4, maybe 2 for one prototype and 2 for the other one, because there will be students looking for groups to evaluate, okay? So please be kind and accept also more than one evaluation per prototype. And at the same time, you individually, maybe you will be asked to perform more than one evaluation, okay? Because maybe there is a group that is still looking for an evaluation for their prototype. So again, be kind also individually. If someone asks you to perform an evaluation, let's try to accommodate this need, if you can, of course, okay? So again, as a group, one evaluation at least per prototype that you will receive. As the individual evaluator, you must evaluate at least one evaluation of a prototype of another group, okay? Again, if you will do more than one evaluation individually, then you will need to select which evaluation report to submit for the exam, okay? But we will see this in a minute. Is it okay? Is it clear? Any questions on this?
So you can do more evaluation, but finally you need to submit.
Exactly. As an individual, you will submit just one report of one single evaluation. Then if another group is looking for some evaluators and you want to help them, you can do the evaluation. Of course, your individual evaluations will be shared with the other group. So again, it's probably an advantage to, as a group, to receive more evaluations because you will discover more violations and you will have the opportunity to improve your design. Okay. So we have 2 actors here. There is the group A, that is the group that is receiving the evaluation, and then there is the individual evaluator, okay? So to receive an evaluation, you should be in 2. One acts as the computer, so it simulates the prototype, and the other one acts as the facilitator. So it introduces the tester, the evaluator, with the tasks, for example, but more importantly, at the beginning, it gives some additional information on the context, on the solution. So, for example, the facilitator tells the evaluator, okay, you are acting as a high school student preparing for a marathon. This is our solution. This is our value proposition. You should keep in mind this, this, and this. Okay? Some generic information about the context and the solution, and then the facilitator also gives the tasks to the evaluator. Okay? So, two people from group A, which is receiving the evaluation, one person, the evaluator. Okay? So what happens individually? Okay, for sure you need to schedule this meeting. You can, again, exploit the lab hours, but you can also schedule a meeting outside the class hours. And you, as an evaluator, you will have to evaluate the low fidelity prototype of the other group, one of the low fidelity prototypes of the other group. The other group will choose which prototype you will evaluate. So you cannot choose which prototypes you will evaluate. And if you are going to perform more than one individual evaluations, there is just one constraint. You cannot evaluate the same the other prototypes of the same group. Okay, so if you are evaluating the prototype 1 of group A, you cannot do the evaluation of the prototype 2 of the same group. Okay, this is the only constraint. Anyway, when you have to evaluate this, you will start with the tasks that the facilitator will show to you, and you will try to perform the task on the paper-based prototype. So at the beginning, you will see just the home page, and then you will start interacting with the home page by clicking somewhere on the page, and the facilitator, the computer, sorry, so the second guy in the other group, will simulate the behavior of the prototype. For example, by replacing a window with another window, or by placing another window on top so that the previous one is no longer visible. So individually, you see just one screen at a time. And this is also important for the group A that should simulate things correctly. Okay? So you cannot see anything except the current page. And that's very important because last year we had some problems with some groups showing, for example, the high flow diagram to the evaluator. That's methodologically wrong, and you will get 0 point for that part if you do that. Okay, and of course the computer guy cannot give any indication on how to solve the tasks. Maybe the facilitator can clarify things, but unless the evaluator is really stuck on the page, you cannot tell the evaluator, okay, you should click there, okay, because the goal is to understand if the interface is, again, understandable, so you cannot give this kind of bias. So try to perform the 3 tasks one at a time on the prototype. You can, of course, have the heuristics in front of you. You can print them, you can use your tablet or your PC. And there is a template which you can use to take notes of the violations you will find. The final version of this template will be your individual submission. Then we will look also at the template. So keep the list of heuristics in front of you while using the prototype and take plenty of notes. be aware that at the end of each evaluation, you can carry only your notes with you. So you cannot video recording your session. You just have to try the prototype, keep notes, take notes, and that's it, okay? Specify which heuristics each problem you found is related to, following the template. And if a problem is not strictly related to any heuristics, you can still mark it with this label, non-heuristic issue. So you can also highlight problems that are not directly related to the heuristics, but that you still want to highlight to the design team. And of course, for each identified problem, also apply the Nielsen severity ratings with the scale we have seen last time here in class, from 1 to 4. So here is the template. As you can see, it's divided in different parts. And here is the template for each single violation. So you have the issue number, 1 to 10 probably. 10 is a good number of violations that you should try to follow, 10 or more. The heuristic number, the heuristic title, and then there are 3 fields that describe where the issue occurred. You can refer to the task, to the specific step, to the specific page, so that we can understand where this problem occurred. Then the what, so the description of the problem, and finally the why, so the reason why this problem violates the heuristic. And finally, there is the severity rating from, I would say, 1 to 4, because 0 is used in the debriefing phase, something that we will not do in this course. And this is an example. So violation number 1, it's related to H4, consistency and standards, where there is the point of the interface where this is happening. So when you specify your language, the what, the app uses save for saving information, except here where it uses store. So the classic example of using a different label for the same action. Why? It is an inconsistent terminology for the same function in the application, which can create confusion. Severity rating 3. Okay? This is just an example. So you will likely find 10, 15 violations of this type.
What if we do not reach the 10?
It's really difficult not to reach 10 violations. I mean, I think you can easily reach this level, okay? So I suggest you, let's try to find at least 10 violations, but if you do it well, if you do it properly, you will likely discover more than 10 violations, okay?
Another thing is, how do you evaluate our heuristic evaluation?
Okay. We will evaluate, but we can see in a minute the grading criteria, and I will answer to your question. Again, there are also other parts of the document that are also evaluated. So, okay, except your name, we will not evaluate it, but part 2, project description, you should, in 1-2 sentences, describing the project that you are evaluating, maybe the tasks that you received from the facilitator. Then you should describe the execution of the evaluation, where you conducted it, when, and in a way, how. Maybe you started from task 1, then you performed the same task twice, and then you moved to task 2, etc. Then the list of violations, and finally, there is this summary and recommendations section, where first of all you need to fill in this table, adding the number of violations found for each heuristic, and then 2-3 paragraphs of recommendations for the other group to improve the design in light of the violations you found. Okay? So let's go back to the text of the assignment. And these are the grading criteria. Again, the final version of that document will be your submission. And we will evaluate the different parts of the document in this way. Of course, we will focus on how you conducted the evaluation and on the quality of the violations you will find. So I think you can read this list. Again, for the violations, we will evaluate the extent to which you will find a large percentage of violations, the variety and non-repetitions in the violations. We will evaluate the descriptions of the violations, if they are clear, if they are easy to understand. And of course, we will also evaluate if you will categorize well these violations or not. Because here the tricky point is understanding which heuristics is involved in a specific problem.
So you will evaluate our evaluation on the prototype that
Yes.
we evaluated, right? But if we made some changes between the submission of assignment 2 and the...
No, we will not evaluate, we will not look at the prototype, we will just look to your report. We will evaluate the quality of the violations and how they are written in the report, okay? So we assume that what we find in the document is something that you, of course, discovered on the prototype, but we will not check on the prototype. We will just check to the description of your violation to see if it's well written, if it's understandable, if the description is clearly linked to the heuristic and stuff like that, okay?
So how can you say if we found a large percentage if you don't see the prototype?
A large percentage, it's again an heuristic that we are using in this course. A large percentage means 10 or more. Okay, so 10 is the magic number, 10 or more. Okay, let's use this heuristic. Yes?
You don't look at the prototypes.
Yes.
We evaluate.
Yes.
Maybe if this group is excellent.
Yes.
Do
It never happens. You can find at least 10 violations. It's the minimum number. Okay.
And we have to find one violation for each category, or
No, no,
find
no.
of one,
And again, we will do an exercise now on an heuristic evaluation of an existing website. Here, be aware that you are doing an evaluation of a low fidelity prototypes, so it's normal that something is missing, right? So probably not all the heuristics will apply in the same way, and it's okay if we have 0 violations of some heuristics and 3, 4 of another one, okay? So again, it's also written here, it's a low fidelity prototype, so focus on giving feedback on the available functionality rather than pointing out a missing feature, okay? Because it's a prototype, it's in low fidelity, then it's without colors, so probably, for example, the heuristic about aesthetic design doesn't apply quite well to this design stage, okay? Deliverable by the due date, 25 of November, if I'm not wrong, you must upload your individual report as a PDF in a folder named A3 in your group repository, okay? So, of course, you will evaluate another prototype, but your individual report, you will upload it in your own repository and use this convention. So, student ID, name, surname, .pdf. It will be individual, so if you are in 4, we are expecting 4 different documents, okay? please remember that this assignment will be evaluated in the submitted version. So you cannot change it, you cannot integrate it after the deadline, okay? And if you don't submit it by the deadline, you won't get the up to 6 points for the assignment. So it's one shot. Again, if you evaluated more than one prototype, maybe to help another group that is looking for an additional evaluation, pick the evaluation that you prefer, the one that you think it's better, and because you must submit only one report, okay? Okay, besides submitting the report for your own evaluation, you must also share, of course, your report with the other group, okay? So that the other group can then continue with the assignment 4, which will start with an analysis of the received violations and in the selection of one of the 2 prototypes, depending on the violations you will receive. Okay? I also prepared this, I would say, chart, just to show you one possibility, but it's just a possibility. So you can maybe, where is that? Okay. You can satisfy the criteria by pairing your group with another group. I mean, let's suppose this is the group 1, this is the group 2. You can divide the groups in 2. And so the first 2 components of group 1 will evaluate the prototype number 1 of the group 2 and vice versa. And the third and the fourth members of group 1 and group 2 will focus on prototype 2, okay? So by exchanging, in a way, the prototypes. So this is a possible scenario, okay? But of course, you are free within your group to test different prototypes of different groups, okay? So this is just a possibility, okay? Of course, if you are in 3, you need to do a bit more work, because this scenario doesn't apply when a group is composed by 3 people only, and if you are in 2, I don't know, but anyway. Any questions? Yes.
Like, it is necessary to have 2 persons at the time of evaluation. I mean, it's not like the facilitator.
Yes. As a group, you should be 2 components of the group that is receiving the evaluation should be present during the evaluation. One will act as the computer, the other one will act as the facilitator.
But facilitator just participates before doing evaluation, or maybe can interrupt?
The facilitator, for sure, is involved at the beginning, so it gives information, it gives the tasks, but then it's also involved during the evaluation, maybe to clarify something without, of course, explaining exactly how to do things, but the facilitator can maybe clarify some doubts of the tester.
While the evaluator are testing, facilitator can interrupt and
No, it's better not to interrupt the evaluator, but if the evaluator asks something, you can answer in a way. And the computer guy doesn't speak, okay? Just act as the computer, right? And if there are, yes?
Regarding the issue of
Yes?
evaluating like if for example me and
Yes.
evaluating a product, like we have to do like several times, like first I will do the evaluation, like try the product, and then he will do it, or he can just watch and
I mean, you are in 2 right now, and this is a problem, and we will try to fix this later on. So this, of course, doesn't apply to your situation. I mean, here, the advantage of using this solution is that you can parallelize your work. So you divide your group in 2, and you can parallelize the different evaluations. But of course, this doesn't apply with your group. And so you need to find an alternative. So you cannot parallelize things if you are in 2. Anyway, we can speak about this later on. If there are no more questions, just to, I would say obvious things, but then they are not typically. It's individual. So if we find similar documents, we will penalize both, okay? So, and it happens. Every year it happens. We find similar documents, similar reports with the same violations, maybe with some words changing. This is a problem, okay? So perform it individually. And also, we are very skilled in finding ChatGPT-like evaluations. So let's do it on your own, okay? Because otherwise, I'm sorry, but you won't get the full set of points. Yes?
Can you remember me how many points?
6 points. So 6 points out to 32. Yes. Okay? If there are no more questions, we can stop the registration here.